Every October since 2011, Retro Movie Geek has brought you the spooky side of retro movies. And this year is no different. So join us in our perilous search through darkened and abandoned basements for some perhaps less talked about horror movies from the 1980s. But remember, we spoil the hell out of every movie we cover, so consider yourself forewarned. Spooky Flix Fest starts now.
Hi, and happy Halloween, and welcome to Spooky Flix Fest 2024. We want to thank Joel and the crew, yes, Peter and Daryl, for inviting us to participate in this year's Spooky Flix Fest. It is one of my favorite events pertaining to Halloween all year long. There's Greg Mortis's apple bobbing contest. There's Macula's thong contest. And
do you want to say real stuff? Because I've got real stuff.
Well, that is real.
A playlist that's like 40 hours long, Halloween playlist.
That's true. That's true. And you're willing to share it with people, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a thong party every year, but it's like the flip-flops that you wear on your feet, those thongs.
Yes. But yeah, he has over 40 hours of his favorite songs. Okay. So this is Jay of the Dead here, and I am joined by my beloved co-hosts, Greg Mortis and Macula. So it's good to have you guys. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And just so people know, here on this podcast, here at Jay of the Dead's New Horror Movies, we are the Berserk Baboon of horror podcasting. And our other co-hosts who could not make it today are Dr. Shock, Gilman Joel, Mr. Watson, Dr. Walking Dead, Ron Martin, and Dave Z. So I just wanted to give a little shout out to them. So for this year's Spooky Flix Fest 2024, Joel, Daryl, and Peter are having us review Dunstan Checks In from 1996.
What? Oh, wait, what? Mac, what?
Oh man. Right, Mac? I could not stop thinking about that movie.
Oh, really? That's so funny you say that, though, because I got to go back and watch that.
Yes. So the movie is actually Link from 1986. Mac's birth year. It is a birth year movie for Macula. He's very serious about all films that come out in 1986. So
yes, and sadly, I'm only because I'm trying to watch as many movies as I am old, and I turned 38 this year. And thanks to Link, I'm at like 36. So I need 2 more. But you just gave me 2 more, Greg. So I'm going to watch those and get back to you guys. So
and The Golden Child with Me. You got to get that in there.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, that's right.
So Link was directed by Richard Franklin of Psycho 2 fame. And this movie stars Terrence Stamp and Elizabeth Shulala. Right? 2 years after Karate Kid. And it also stars 2 chimpanzees and an orangutan. Yes.
That's why I knew her. She's in Karate Kid.
Yeah. Yep. She's the girlfriend. That's Allie from Karate Kid. That's right.
Oh, and she's in Back to the Future.
Yeah, she's an 80s darling and a 90s darling. And she's pretty much always darling, I think. But this is rated R. It has a runtime of 1 hour, 43 minutes. Here's the premise. Elizabeth Shue plays an American zoology student who's attending university in London. There, she takes some extra work over the holidays, helping one of her professors, played by Terrence Stamp, at his remote home where he studies and educates chimpanzees and an orangutan named Link. But as our plucky protagonist finds out the hard way, working with intelligent apes can be extremely dangerous. So that was a Jay of the Dead original there. And of course, since we're on Retro Movie Geek, as you all know, from this point on, we will be proceeding with full-blown major plot spoilers. And so I want to kick it off.
Is that how they roll over there, huh?
Brother, yeah, because the movies are old and they don't care about young folks who might not have seen it. They're just like, you should have seen this by now. So,
like people like me because it was a first-time watch for me, Jason, and I watched it last week. You know?
Yeah, I know.
So I could have been spoiled from it, but thank goodness I wasn't.
That's right. Well, Max, since it was your first time viewing of Link, tell us what you thought.
Well, I mean, I had to think, right, because this is, well, I guess this is Retro Movie Geek, right? But this is also me thinking about you, Jason, and Jay the Dead's new horror movies and the brilliant Shockma movie. There is something magical about Shockma, like that premise of them in the building and playing that weird game. And but like I had to think about that a little bit, you know, as this started. But the first thing I noticed was the music, because it's 1986 and the music is awesome. That's the first thing you notice. The credits start to roll and we start to hear some awesome music. That's totally rad. And I was like, but it also kind of put me in a different mood, you know, like I was like, there was a split second where it's like, is this a horror movie? You know, it's like, because I'm just all in for a good time, you know, 80s movie. But yeah, I mean, we get General Zod, you know, is the professor. And there's some cool professor things going on at the beginning of this movie. But it is interesting because, you know, some things start to go wrong for sure later in the film. But there's a lot of like her, you know, showing up at the house and just kind of, she's in love with these animals. You know, she wants to be there so that she can just, you know, be around this, you know, have this experience, right? She clearly has an awesome time caring for these animals and interacting with them and communicating with them. And so there is a lot of that. And it takes a little bit of time to get to the horror, but then we do get stuff. I mean, it is climactic, you know, how it ends and everything. I always love when movies have like huge set piece climactic endings, you know, and I didn't see this one coming, but it was awesome. You know, I had a great time with this movie. I should just say that. But I love like what everyone was wearing. I loved her outfits, you know, and just like her sincerity in her part was just like so pure and cute. And, you know, even in the last moment, I guess if we're talking everything, there's the last moment where she's driving away with her beaten up boyfriend. And she's like, she picks up the chimp who's on the side of the road. And she's like, oh, this one, you know, he's a darling. He wouldn't hurt anyone. And then you get like this bird's eye view of this field of sheep that have just all had their necks broke, you know? And I'm just like, yes, I don't know what it is. But like, I just had a great time for the most part. But yeah, there is a lot of, it's definitely not Shockma in that, like, you know, in Shockma, they got this, I guess I don't know breeds of monkeys as well as maybe the next man, but like in Shockma, you have the baboon, I guess is what it is. And he's like, yes, they got him to attack the door for real life, right? But in this movie, there are a couple of moments where Link, I'm doing quotation marks, right, leaps over a bush or comes at you, and it's a person in a mask. I don't know if did you guys notice that? Where like whenever there's kind of like a big moment where he jumps, it was totally a guy in a rubber mask. But because they were so quick, it didn't totally distract me. But I did pick up on that there wasn't as much like real life monkey craziness as you get in like something like Shockma.
Monkey business, as it were.
Yeah, monkey.
Right. Okay.
But I mean, I had a great time. That house is super interesting, and that house is so big that they go to, that there's a lot of, and it's all monkified, right? Like it's got cages in it. And one really cool part is they have this communication device, right? And, you know, at first it's so innocent, right? The monkey leads him over and he's like, cook, meal or whatever. And then he starts to say cook phone, and that plays a part in it or whatever. But like, it's all kind of sweet and childish. But then what's that other chimp's name? Greg, help me out. What's the other chimp's name?
Imp and Link.
Imp.
Voodoo.
And then Imp is like typing in and he's like, kill Link. And I was just like, I loved that moment. I was like, dude, even this other monkey knows, like, we got to stop, But it was hilarious. I guess that's what you're thinking of, Jason, when you're thinking Dunstan checks in or whatever. Because like when she first shows up at the house, the professor is like, in his study or something, or he might even be like, he's down the road, do something else. So she checks in and, he gets her bags and he's wearing like clothes. Then they kind of look like butler clothes, and he's helping her up to her room, and he even guides her by the hand to show her where the bathroom is, and it's kind of hilarious. But yeah, totally. I don't know. I'm so interested to see what you guys feel about this movie.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And yeah, absolutely. It's that when she is greeted by him, I got Dunstan checks in vibes for sure. Gregor Mortis, what say you, brother? How do you feel about this movie?
Yeah, this is a Canon film. So this is a Canon group film. So I knew right away as soon as I saw that logo pop up, guys, that we're in for fun. Because, Canon films are typically fun films. Rated R, I think it's a really weak rated R film, but still, I could have probably went PG-13, honestly, with this one. But I thought it was like really fun. This was my first viewing too, so I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, first thing I thought of, and Pearl was telling me, like, when we saw Terrence Stamp show up, it was like nil before Zod. I mean, like, yes. But he's so good. He's such a good actor that just classic. And I read in trivia where this was originally offered over to Anthony Perkins. He would have done great too. It would have worked with him. But I'm glad they got Terrence Stamp. I thought the action was decent in this one. This is not no Shockma, so you don't have no wild rabid baboon, but you got a chimpanzee that's doing his thing, and orangutan that's been spray painted to look like a chimp. I thought it was hilarious. Oh man, but I love him. I love freaking Link, man. He is such a cool little orangutan. I was like, man, I want him to come home with. One thing I did put in the notes was there was a scene with Terrence or Dr. Stephen Phillip, right? And he looks over at Elizabeth's character, Jane, and asks, he says, do you cook and clean? And her response was, I'm a female. And I'm like, wait a minute. Who dialogued this out? Like, this was not chauvinistic at all. No.
Well, I wondered, Greg, if that was sort of like her response, because initially she's like, hey, I want to be a secretary. And he's like, but you're a girl. And we find out later that it's like he's actually needing sperm samples. And so she physically can't, produce that. But so I wondered if it was kind of like her way of being like kind of coming back at him. But or maybe it was just, I don't know.
I mean, it plays well. I like that we're in this atmosphere of this house, which turns into looking like a castle because it has so many underground layers and there's so many caves, and there's a lot of places to go in here. Link clearly has a way to get around this whole building at any time, so we get those monkey shine moments where you're seeing from the monkey level. Yes. And I know, Jay, you got excited with that. I love Monkey Shine, one of my favorite films.
Yes.
And I loved when we saw the monkey moment. I did feel like if you took a shot for every time Elizabeth screams imp, you would be a very drunk man in a few minutes, because she's screaming imp multiple times in this movie. It's like, imp! Imp! Don't do what I'm saying. Don't take shots. You got a pervy Link sitting there staring at Elizabeth naked up and down. Just staring up and down. That was very pervy and awkward.
But understandable at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. We all would have. I mean, male and female alike. We would have all been going, but I thought the action was good in this. This is fun. I think the spirit of it is fun. Like, it fits a Canon film. And when you say Canon film, what I'm saying is just those. Go back to the 80s and look at all these Canon movies. You got the Chuck Norris movies and all these different things going on. They're fun. Yeah. Sorry, Pearl. But they're just they're still a lot of fun to watch. They're just goofy movies. Watch the documentary on Canon films. I highly recommend it. It's really good. But it's fun. I'm going to just say that. There's much more to say, but I'm going to pass it to Jay right now. But I think the action and the different things going on is fun. I did love that closing scene, Mac, as well. You know, that, oh, he's a baby. He can't hurt nobody. that pan shot was beautiful, man. It's just so seeing the sheep just laid out, man. I'm like, yeah, this ain't going to end well for you when you turn that corner, boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What says you, Jay?
Well, okay, thank you. Well, everybody knows, if you know me, you know I love like killer ape, killer primate, killer monkey movies. Like, you know, I'm into it. I like when animals attack movies, basically. It's a beastly freak kind of thing. And the truth is, these things are very dangerous, honest to goodness. And that's, so I think that number one, it's extremely ambitious to try to film a movie of this nature with these actual animals. And he did, I was reading that the director did get a lot of pressure to use, continually use like people in suits and stuff. But as much as he possibly could, he used the actual animals because he felt like, you know, there was more veracity, obviously. But
and I should say, yeah, like the entire movie, they're clearly real. It's just like there's like 2 1-second shots of like Link jumping over a bush where like it is a guy in a mask, and it probably just was hard for them to get the monkey to like do that little, you know, stunt.
Sure.
You know? So I shouldn't rag on that. That's cool that he did that, because now that you're saying that, that was super clear.
yeah, and the other thing too, and they run into this anytime they use wild animals, like especially with bears. I've read this as well with Beastly Freaks movies. You got to be careful when filming wild animals in excitable attack type sequences where there's high intensity emotion, because for example, bears cannot act. And so if bears are like pretending to, you know, they don't pretend to eat you or maul you. It's like either a bear is eating you or a bear is not eating you. There's no in between. And so, Mac, I think in these situations in this movie, a lot of the filming, they had to do it in a really careful way where they're not upsetting or exciting or even challenging these animals. And so, you know, I give them credit for that. But and another cool thing I read is that the director said that, you know, he knew he'd have to do shots where it's like, you know, you film from certain angles and they might be like running with like a ferocity to get like some bananas or something. And then he has to cut it and have it edited to make it look like he's going after people. And so he said it wasn't as difficult as he thought. So I appreciate all of that and I respect all of that. But my complaint, and I'm sorry, Matt, because this is something you liked. You like the music, but I actually feel like the music undercuts this movie so bad, you guys.
See, that's what I actually agree with you, Jason. Like the music is cool and fun, but it takes you out of the horror so quickly because it's not haunting music. It isn't threatening music. It's just like
it's silly. Yeah. It's silly. In fact, in post-production, I'll put in a little sample right here.
Yes, please do.
Did you see who did the music? Oh, that's why it's surprising. Jerry Goldsmith is the composer.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow. I didn't have a problem necessarily with music, but I get where you're going. But the fact that Jerry Goldsmith was attached to that was just like, wow. You know, that's big time composer when you start looking at his discography or whatever you want to call it. I mean, good Lord. But it's definitely not some of his best work.
Well, and the thing is, who knows? Maybe he didn't get the memo about the subgenre that they were trying to hit with this, because maybe he saw it and he did see something along the lines of Dunstan Checks In, because it's like doop doo 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 doo, you know.
Well, like I said, there's a lot of that, right, Jason? I mean, compared to the, you know, there is like a great. You know, because 3 guys, her boyfriend and 3 guys show up at some point, and I loved how one of them puts his arm through a mail slot, and then later you see the aftermath of that, and it's kind of amazing,
brutal.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of like her holding monkeys and like talking sweetly to them, and them being super adorable,
monkeying around. in essence.
Like it's,
Yes, yeah, right.
What do you think about the reveal moment when we saw the professor in the well?
yes.
Mm-hmm. Loved it.
Now, I had an issue with that moment in the fact that the friend is looking down the well, right? He hears a noise. He's looking down. He drops the match. You know, we see 3 shots down in that well, and all we see is a cage with the professor or the doctor down there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we get that shock moment when Link jumps up and grabs him and throws him down. I'm like, where in the hell was he at?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, where he was nowhere in that. And Pearl said maybe there was a hole off to the side, but I mean, he was not in that well when they showed 3 shots. I mean,
Yeah.
You're right.
that was something that really just scratched my head. I was like, well, it's a good scare moment, but just didn't work. Like,
yeah, and it was super creepy to have him down there. But yeah, it was I was kind of also scratching my head being like, when would they have done that? You know?
Yeah.
The other thing that was super cheesy, sorry, Jason,
Go
maybe
ahead.
this is
Go ahead.
kind of stealing your thunder a little bit, but like there's this great moment where she thinks she hears the professor saying, "Hey, give me a minute. Go away. You got to step out." And then later, but like the funny part was as soon as she hits that tape recorder, I thought, "Oh, that's what that was." In fact, I even had a hunch earlier that it was something like that.
They Home Aloned it. You filthy animal.
They literally show, you know, like what she's thinking kind of faded off to the side while she's thinking about it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
This makes it PG more than rated R, right? We got Home Alone references. We got
Right. Well,
Dunstan checks in going on.
So you're exactly right about your critique there in the well, Greg. I was going to say, so all I had to do in my mind, sometimes I will try to give movies a little leeway, and because the arms stretch out from like the side of the wall, I just had to assume there was like a lateral tunnel. But they should have shown us that, or even if there wasn't actually one in the well, show us some other shot that depicts that there's a lateral tunnel coming out. Because that was a huge cheat.
It was, and I mean, Pearl said it too. She said there was a cave down there, had to be, and I can see that because there's so many of them in that house that goes out to the water. So I mean, he's got a lot of these different tunnels. So maybe there was, but we just never saw it, and they never referenced it. So I'm like, dude, that is such a cheat that's that cat's jump scare that comes out on Dave every time. He's like, damn it.
Yes. Well, this movie came way before, but having seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes from 2014, for those who are familiar with that, there's a scene where Koba, who is a very scary ape, he acts silly and like a doofus in order to like get the jump on the humans. And having seen him do that, because it's kind of a blood chilling, scene. Having seen that later film, going back and in watching this, I was reminded of that Koba strategy, because I think that in a lot of these scenes, it's a mixture of two things. Number one, of course, they're not getting the orangutan like super angry. And so he looks innocent and playful, but then he does something malicious, and I think that's just the way they had to film it. But because of this later film, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it made that have a little bit more of a creep factor for me.
I can see that. And that's such a good movie too, by the way.
Oh, 10.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
I love that scene, not to get sidetracked, but
yes.
when Koba's up there acting like a goof, it's like, I was like, what are they doing? Oh, no, my friend.
Right. Well, so a couple other just real quick things for you guys. Number one, probably the scariest aspect of this whole movie was a satellite story, this kind of this side story. It's a backstory that doesn't really pertain to the plot, but he tells this story about how this chimp owner returned after being gone for a long time, and the chimp was fully grown and powerful. And he tells about all the ways that this chimp ripped up its owner, and the details of that story are horrifying. And he just said he was actually just excited to see the dude. Anyways, so that was one scary moment for me. And then the other thing I feel is kind of a missed opportunity is in the beginning, I felt like they were trying to seed in a little bit of a Gremlins rules scenario, because he gave her 3 rules. He said, you're the dominant species, never treat them as equals. Don't ever let anything escalate. Always forgive them, which we do see. I mean, she does let things escalate by locking out Link. Yeah. So, and then don't get involved in their squabbles. They clear them up themselves. But I thought we would have a little more follow through with the rules. But anyway, I feel like that was a little bit of a missed opportunity.
I totally agree, because they set it up. I mean, it's like, when you got the scene of a phone in a camera shot, and then we hear it, it's going to ring eventually here in a few seconds. They always, and they gave us that moment. You're right. Like, why spend that time giving us these 3 rules? Don't get them wet at night. Don't feed them after. Why are you giving us these rules? And then it means nothing. Like, it meant nothing to us.
Right.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And Greg, you mentioned it earlier about them spray painting the orangutan to make it look more chimp-like. What is it with the 80s spray painting animals? Like in Beastmaster, they spray painted the tiger black.
Yes.
They like dyed it black. And it's like,
what would you even go about dyeing a tiger black?
Well, I named
carefully.
We recently talked about that on Considering the Cinema, and I titled that episode "Die of the Tiger." So, anyways,
one thing I will say, it feels unbelievable because you look at their arms, and their arms don't look that strong. Because at one point he says they're like 10 times stronger than you, or something like that. And that doesn't seem right, but that part where he lifts up the car onto its side, that was kind of awesome. Mm-hmm. I was loving that. Was scary, but
yes. You can imagine. I mean, from not to sound stupid or not, I mean, the way the chimps, they hang off trees and they pull this. I mean, the body strength on these things are amazing. And to see Link at the beginning when he's showing Elizabeth's character through the house, he's like taking her like a butler. I mean, look at how how powerful he's like. He slings the door open. He's trying to be in the movie. He's showing around, but you can see the sheer force that he has, and they have no way to really bridle it. It's like sling the door open, grab her arm. I mean, she had to be terrified, man. It had to take her some time to get to trust in this orangutan. I would be scared. I'd be like, in one rip, he could take my arm off, like legit, like literally.
Yes.
Rip my arm out of socket.
Yes.
You're going to pay me a lot to be in a movie with an orangutan. I'm just saying.
Seriously. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, let's wrap up with final thoughts and ratings then. And we'll start with Macula.
Oh, man. Jason, do you really get to say everything you wanted to?
I'll conclude with my final thoughts.
All right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I ultimately had a great time. I do remember multiple times thinking to myself how much I loved her outfits because they were just so 80s. Like, it's so funny how we still wear jeans to this day, but like the way they would stitch them and wear them, I guess, they just like, oh man. And her sweater was like the perfect length, and so 80s. And I just loved all that. And this is a birth year movie for me. So that means I think I will, on my birthday in a couple years from now, probably like revisit this because I could see myself revisiting this. But there was something about it that felt light on the horror. But then again, we do get that awesome scene. Oh, I'll say this. This is where I'll end. I loved how we get the scene where Link kind of has the upper hand on. I mean, he broke the boyfriend's foot and they're hiding in the dirt, under the kitchen. But then she thinks to herself, she's like, Link, don't mess with the matches, because she knows that he can't resist doing the naughty thing, right? So she's like, put those matches down. Monkeys don't smoke, And then he's like trying to light that cigarette. And I was like, yes, dude, he's going to blow up this house. And I just love it when movies go all out, because as a filmmaker, you can, get permission to film in someone's house. And then obviously you want to be so careful down to the, scratching the tile on the floor or something like that. But, and I don't know what the situation was with this house, but they obviously, were able to blow up some set or, version of this house. And that was awesome. But yeah, there was something about it that for me, this ended up being like a 6. because it feels kind of like horror light, you know. It's like it's not terribly scary all of the time, but it is a fun movie. So I say 6. I think I'll revisit it. I'm not going to buy it, but I will probably watch it again at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. What about you, Greg Morris?
Yeah, I'm in about a 7 to a 7.5 on this one. It's definitely a lot of fun. Pearl even enjoyed it, to an extent. I think I got an answer for you there, Matt, because I really feel like the scene where after the explosion and the fire, and we got Elizabeth's character with the boyfriend driving beside the house, driving off, and the house is all burnt down or whatever. I really felt like that was a matte painting, kind of like it just does not look real.
What it probably is the outside of the house is real, because this happens a lot in movies. The outside of the house is real. The inside is actually a set, like a soundstage sort of thing. And so, like, you're done with it. You got to tear down the set anyway. You might as well film it on fire and burning. And I don't know what all the logistics go into that. But yeah, I think I do remember thinking that too. When they are driving away from the building or from the house, once it was all burnt, it did look like a matte painting, which was kind of nostalgic and fun for me. But yeah, I guess that's true that they probably didn't destroy that house. But
yeah, absolutely. And then we do get one, and I'll close it with this. We did have that one moment where Link during the fire is standing up on top of the roof with the cigar in his mouth. I totally felt Frankenstein in that moment. I felt like that windmill. I'm like, dude, in my mind, I thought, man, this is like the Frankenstein moment. He's up on top of it, the fire. I thought it was great. And maybe it was a nod. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But no, it's fun. I'm going to go 7. I'm going to go 7 with it. It's worth a watch. I had to rent it, so I had to pay $3 to watch it on Amazon Prime, but not hating that I watched it. So 86, fun movie, decent score. Elizabeth Shue's naked, you get that. So there you go, boys.
That's right.
It's a fun movie.
All right. And yeah, so for me, I just want to hit one more thing on the music I didn't get to cover. And it's, in the cinema, music is just one facet. The score is one aspect of a storytelling device that comes with this art form. I mean, we get editing helps us tell the story, the performances, the set decoration, and the score is part of it. And so I just think that we're all referring to this as kind of a horror light. And I think this movie could have been full-blown horror and felt more scary and more horrific if the music cues had steered us to feel the dread. And so, like, there are so many images of the camera shows Link, and he's just like staring at her, and he's kind of blankly staring. And just imagine if there had been a creepy undertone to the score, then we would have felt, a little more intimidation, a little more ominous. So, anyways, I actually ended up purchasing this on DVD a while back because I thought it was because I hadn't seen it, to be honest. This was my first viewing as well, and I thought it was another killer ape movie, which it is to some extent. It's not quite Shockma, but so that's why I got it, because that's kind of our thing on this podcast is the killer primates and all that jazz. And the fact that I respect that they worked with these three, which, by the way, the animal actors' real names were Locke, Jed, and Carrie. Just saying. So anyway, I give it a 6.5 out of 10. And I call it a rental as well. I think it's a lot of fun.
So are you saying you don't want your DVD anymore, Jason?
No, I like it. I mean, it's a 6.5. I think for most people, it's a rental. I'm happy to own it, but
wow, they have a 4K. They have a 4K release of this.
There you go, Mac. You got to get it.
Pearl says she gives it a 4 banana. So
a 4 bananas?
Yeah, that's her thing.
The Twisted Temptress with 4 bananas. All right. Out of 10 bananas?
That out of 10 bananas, love? Yep, that's 4 bananas out of 10.
Okay, there you go. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, we want to thank our friends over at Retro Movie Geek for inviting us to participate in Spooky Flix Fest 2024. It is just one of the best things all year as far as I'm concerned. And Macula, do you have any parting words for the Retro Movie Geek audience?
Yeah. not for the audience, for the host. You guys got to stop spoiling stuff.
Oh boy,
spoiled the crap out of this movie, but whatever.
Right. Well, that's the name of the game over here. Win in Rome, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
No, but I do love that idea of like retro movies. Like, there is something special about movies that are made at different time periods. They just feel different. They look different. Obviously, the hairstyles and the clothes are different, and it's a blast. So I like that they do retro movies, and that's awesome.
Yeah, so their concept is, as it was with Forgotten Flicks, is like movies that are 20 years or older, and the idea was to kind of revisit and recapture the nostalgia that we once felt with those movies that we watched long ago. But yeah, not everybody was born in 1986 though, huh, Mac? So
yeah, that's right.
You lucky duck. All right, Gregor Mortis, do you have any thoughts for the Retro Movie Geek audience?
Yeah, we love you guys and gals, and we do love the Retro Geek guys as well. We love old Peter, and of course Gil, man, and we like Daryl too. He's good. We love Daryl. Now these guys are awesome, man, and I just appreciate the opportunity to put my 2 cents over on that episode for a half a second. So so lots of fun. Retro, keep it up, man, and audience, you got a good show to listen here. Come over to Jay the Dead to listen to us too. We're not bad.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you can find us at newhorrormovies.com, and in the meantime, we wish you all a happy Halloween.
Thank you for listening. Get all the spookiness you can handle this October by subscribing to Mom and Pop Video Shop on YouTube. You can also find Retro Movie Geek on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you dig up your podcasts. The eerie music you heard at the beginning and end of this episode was provided courtesy of Ed and Gavin and their band Midnight Syndicate. We want to thank them for the use of music from their album The Brimstone Club. Want to sink your unkept and bloody claws into this and all of Midnight Syndicate's beautifully macabre music? Then go to midnightsyndicate.com. And remember, spooky is as spooky does.